Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Nick Push, and today I am here to talk about the Batman. Just got out of the theater a little while ago, so yeah, excited to talk about it. So, a couple of things first. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. As you might be able to tell by the name of the channel, I mostly stick to horror movies. But with the Batman coming out and being such a big deal, and myself being a little bit of a Batman fan, I figured, what the hell? Let's talk about this movie, and I want to get my thoughts out there. So yeah, if you're returning, guys, appreciate you as always. As you know, guys, I'm not really a person that reviews movies. This is just kind of me turning on the camera, getting my thoughts out there. It's pretty conversational, so a lot of times you'll get me ranting and raving, and you know, all kinds of shit. So if you're new here and that's not your thing, that's cool. See you later. If you want to give it a shot, awesome too. And like I said, you guys that are returning, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Little thing first here. Let's just talk about my history of Batman, because I feel like I have to say this. I am not a person that reads comic books. I know a little of the history of Batman and shit like that. Most of my exposure to Batman comes from the movies, starting with Batman '89 and onward, because that's what I grew up with. I am a big fan of the Nolan trilogy. Batman, Superman, and Batman vs Superman, and some of the Justice League shit I really couldn't get into. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So if I say something here, if I have a thought, you don't have to say, well, it's like that in the comics. Like, I know I'm just giving my thoughts on the movie. It's my thoughts as a casual fan of the genre and a big Batman fan, but not someone who's obsessed with every minor detail about the character and the universe. So that's kind of my history on it. Two more things. Number one, if you like horror movies, you like Batman shit, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys doing that. It really helps out the channel. And comment down below what you thought of this movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me your thoughts. I love hearing you guys' thoughts. With that being said, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to kind of give you guys talk about some of the things that I liked, talk about some of the things I'm mixed at, and then some of the things that didn't really work for me. Once again, I've only seen it once, just got out of the theater. This is my initial thoughts. So I might think I might miss something. I might might have forgot about something because it was a 3-hour movie, and I just got done seeing it. So let's get right into it. So some of the things I liked, and there's a lot of them, guys, because I really fucking liked this movie. Big fan of what they did with the character, and big fan of the story in general. Thought it was badass. So I'm going to have a lot more things that I liked than I disliked. And starting with that, one of the things I really liked was this was just a seriously gritty crime drama, and just very dark. We saw from the trailers that there was just, there's going to be some brutal fighting scenes where Batman's just kicking ass and shit. And it was just, it was a lot of mob type shit. It felt like almost like a David Fincher style stuff, with some of the story, because it was just a lot of mob shit going back and forth, which is obviously big with Gotham, and the history of Gotham and all that shit, and how the Waynes were killed, and all that shit. But it just seemed grittier than we usually get, even grittier than the Nolan trilogy, which dove into that a lot. So I was a big fan of what they did with this. I thought all the characters, all the mob characters were cast really well and did a good job. So yeah, I like kind of like crime dramas, and adding Batman to the mix in this gritty environment was pretty damn cool looking. The other thing I liked, Batman, the score of the movie, specifically, Batman kind of had his own theme that popped up, and it was almost, the only way I can describe it is it's similar to the Imperial March, with in Star Wars, when Vader comes on. It wasn't quite that obvious, but every single time it was kind of like a little ominous scene, like, here comes the Batman, and I thought it was fucking great. Speaking of that, and on that kind of theme, one thing they did really well in this was making Batman not everyone knew he was, a quote unquote good guy. The good characters didn't trust him. The evil characters were terrified of him. There's a great scene right at the beginning, not quite the opening scene, but right after that, where the bat signal's in the sky, and then you got a few different criminal people committing crimes or criminal organizations out into the night, and what they do is, they see the signal up in the sky, and it's almost like they're scared. They're scared of Batman. Kind of like we'd be scared of the criminal. They are scared of Batman. They don't know if he's down that dark alley and shit like that. And they teased it out for a while, so we were kind of in the seat of the criminal, where you see some darkness in the background, and you're waiting for Batman to emerge from there. And they teased it out a long time before he showed up, and I thought that was really fucking cool. So I really, really enjoyed that. As you can see, or as we already saw, the Batsuit was pretty goddamn badass. It might be my favorite Batsuit. I got to think about that a little bit, but it's for sure in the top couple, and it's probably number one. It's pretty cool. Another thing I liked, Robert Pattinson as Batman. I'm going to preface that again. Robert Pattinson as Batman. Big fan of. Perfect jawline for that. Great physicality. I just thought he did an awesome job as that character. And even diving into like some of his detective side a little bit. He's got these contact lenses that record shit, and it helps him like go back over some of the crime scenes, or go back over what he did the night before, or what he saw the night before, and he uses it with Catwoman a little bit to infiltrate something. I thought that was really cool. It was a cool addition using technology and shit like that. So I thought Pattinson did a great job as far as the character of Batman goes, and all the crime shit. Another thing I liked, the opening scene. So the movie starts out with somebody looking through some type of lens at like a child, or at a building essentially. You see a child kind of hugging his dad after messing around on Halloween night. And at first I was like, oh, it's got to be Bruce, right? It's got to be the Waynes, and then it was not. But anyway, so that was a little misdirect there. Anyway, it's actually the mayor. So the mayor is standing, watching TV after his son and wife leave, and he's standing up watching TV, and then he moves, and all of a sudden, boom, you see the fucking Riddler in the background. And I didn't catch it like at first, but I was like, oh shit, it had some horror elements to it, and it was really badass. We'll talk about the Riddler in a minute, but I thought it was badass, the way, just that scene in particular was a great way to start the movie. Like, oh, this is a little different here. This is going to be as dark as we thought it might be. So I thought that was excellent. Another thing I liked, diving into what I said earlier about everyone kind of being scared of Batman, was kind of the lesson Batman learned at the end of the movie. Basically, and just guys, if I think I said it already, but there's going to be spoilers in this. I'm talking about the movie. So I apologize if I didn't say that earlier, but there are going to be spoilers. I'll put it in the description. But the Batman learned a lesson at the end of this movie. Essentially, he had everyone scared of him, and he was just out for vengeance. Well, at the end of the movie, he's helping people. He learns that he needs to give the city hope, and that is the way to save the city. Not just beating the shit out of criminals, which is fun and all, but giving people hope, kind of saving souls, so to speak. So I thought that was a great lesson. The way it bookended with the beginning of the movie, and everyone being scared of him, was really cool. The cinematography in this movie is fucking brilliant. I mentioned the scene with the Riddler. There's so many other scenes like that. The action scenes are great. Just bringing Gotham to light, I thought, was just excellent. You really got a feel for what Gotham is as a city. It's dark, and it's fucking scary, and the criminals run the city, but Batman comes out at night and fights them. So I just thought that was really cool. We've seen it before, but I just wanted to mention the cinematography in this is outstanding. A couple more things in the like column. I liked a lot of it, but a couple more things that came to mind after I left the movie, and I wrote down a few notes. Was Jim Gordon. Um, Liked how he was kind of the only cop who trusted Batman. Everyone else, was calling Batman names. They essentially thought he was just as bad as the criminals, just as bad as the Riddler, all kinds of shit like that. But Jim Gordon, being the only one that trusted him, I thought was cool. I thought the actor playing Jim Gordon, I can't remember his name, did an excellent job. So yeah, Jim Gordon, big fan of him. Big fan of him and Batman's relationship, the way they needed each other, and he needed Batman, and he trusted Batman. Batman would come in, and some of the cops would be, saying some shit, and Jim Gordon would be like, "He's with me." He basically put his reputation on the line because he trusted Batman. So I like that. And just speaking of that, I really like the element of all the other cops hating Batman, essentially. There's a great scene where, they essentially want to arrest him, and then, him and Jim Gordon come up with a plan on how he's going to escape, and just the disdain of the cops for Batman, being a vigilante. I thought it was excellent. I thought it really brought something to, the kind of the themes and a little bit of the grittiness of the movie. So big fan of that. Big fan of a lot of things. I probably missed a few things there, guys, but those are the things that initially popped out of what I liked. A couple things I was mixed on. Number one, Catwoman. I thought the actress that played her did a great job. I liked some of the story direction, didn't like all of the story direction with her. I thought it got a little stale at the end. But essentially, she's working at this club where Falcone and all the other Penguin, all the other crime lords work, and she has to kind of infiltrate them to find out what happened to her friend and to help Batman out. I liked all that stuff. What I didn't like was some of the stuff at the end with who her father is and all kinds of shit like that. And once again, I get that some of that her characterization can be attributed to who she is in the comics and shit like that. I get all that, but I wasn't really a huge fan of what they did with her. There's one line in particular she gives about 3/4 of the way through the movie where I was just like, you didn't have to say it like that. We see what's on screen. You didn't have to fucking say that buzzword. So it kind of bothered me a little bit. But other than that, so I was kind of mixed on what they did with her. Another thing that I was mixed on was Bruce Wayne as a character and basically not really diving into his characterization. I'm mixed on that for two reasons. Number one, I'm a big fan of origin stories. Batman Begins is actually my favorite Batman movie. So I liked the characterization of who Bruce Wayne is, why he's become Batman, and things like that. They didn't give us that because, in this movie, and I understand why they didn't. Like, we jumped right in after he's been Batman for 2 years, right? So we jumped right in there. We didn't have to deal, I get that. It was a 3-hour movie already. The last thing we need is a fucking backstory. I'm not saying I wanted a backstory, but it would have been nice to get some more characterization of, they touched on it briefly, but it would have been nicer for me to get a little more characterization of why he does what he does. However, I get that we jumped in, and we don't need everything explained to us on a silver platter. We all know the story of Batman, so I get it. I'm mixed on it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. So yeah, it was mixed. And let's talk about the Riddler. There's one aspect of him that I was mixed on, and that was the look of him. I'm sure I might get some heat for this, but I wasn't a fan of the mask he wore. I get it was kind of badass, looking as far as from an intimidation standpoint and things like that. And I'm not saying he should be like Jim Carrey was and wear a suit full of question marks. I get it. This is not a Schumacher movie, not at all. I get all that, but his look kind of, I didn't like it. I thought they should have come up with something better, essentially. But him as a character in general and how he's kind of pulling the strings trying to find out the truth, really fucking good, really creepy. The way he used the duct tape and, to put over these guys' faces, no lies and shit like that. Always sending these cards to the Batman. The handwriting on that was creepy for some reason. I'd never been creeped out by handwriting, but it was pretty cool. So a lot of the shit that he did was really cool. It just seemed real world. He basically finds out the truth about who's running Gotham essentially, and so you understand his reasons for doing some of this shit, even though it's horrible things that he's doing. So I like that we get a darker version of the Riddler. I'd never seen that before, because like I said, I don't follow the comics, but I know there was a version of him that probably wasn't like Jim Carrey laughing and with a cane and all kinds of shit. So mixed on him just because of his look, but overall, I really did like him. A couple of things I didn't like, guys, and I'm just gonna wrap it up. Number one, Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. Once again, I loved him as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne, I wasn't a fan of him. I wasn't a fan of his hair, and that sounds so stupid to say. You're not a fan of someone's hair, but I just wasn't. He didn't really do much as Bruce Wayne. This is definitely a more Batman movie than Bruce Wayne movie. He showed up as Bruce Wayne in maybe 5%, if that, of the movie. He was Batman the rest of the movie, and that's great. It's called the Batman. That's what we should have got. But I would have liked to see a little more Bruce Wayne stuff. We got a couple scenes here and there in the house with Alfred, which we'll get into in a second, and then we had the scene at the funeral. But I just wasn't a fan of it. Maybe I like the Nolan movies a lot more as far as who Bruce Wayne is. But I wasn't a fan of Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne. It didn't really work too well for me. Another thing I didn't like was Alfred, and not the actor that played him or anything like that. He was barely in the movie. My main issue with this is there is a scene where he essentially gets blown up, or not blown up and died, but he gets blown up, right? And then they play some music, and Bruce rushes to the hospital, and we're supposed to care about this moment, right? How are we supposed to care about a moment when we got 5 seconds of screen time with him before? And the 5 seconds of screen time was Bruce being an asshole to him. Bruce was an asshole to him a couple times in this. And yes, then they shared a nice moment in the hospital room. I get all that. But they didn't do anything with his character worthwhile. So I wasn't a fan of that. They should have added, a few more scenes in with him. And maybe they're on the cutting room floor, that's fine. But I would have liked a little more Alfred. Not tons, but just a little bit. And my final thing I did not like, was I felt like it was just a little too long. Once we got to the flood scene after the Riddler was captured, it just dragged a little bit, It kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight, after the Joker's caught, and then you still have to do the Two-Face shit. So we get this flood scene, and I know what they were doing with it. They wanted to get to where Batman thematically wants to start, saving souls, essentially, and, giving people hope. I get the symbolism of that, but it just dragged a little bit at that point. I wish they just would have caught the Riddler in a little more epic way and been done with it, But my overall thoughts, guys, big fucking fan of this movie. I can't wait to see it again. We've never seen a Batman this dark and gritty. So big fan, very happy with it. And I definitely recommend you seeing this movie. So, like I said, tell me your thoughts below, and thanks for watching, guys.